Okay, Prophet of God by Chris Cooper, Chapter 14. You said, under the light of the moon. Let me tell you. Jesse and Trevin glanced at each other before getting into a stroll behind Jin, and all three proceeded through the woods. The beginning began, Jin started. Jesse forced some breath out between his swollen cheeks and shaking his head at the same time. Okay. You are created in the image of God, yeah? You know that much? Jin asked them. Sure, you mean like Genesis and Adam and Eve and stuff? Trevin replied. Yes. See, you know some of your stuff, Jin continued. Let me tell you, God is one and has two parts or qualities of an opposite character. Okay? There are two, that is more than one, but please don't get caught up in the values like 1, 2, or 3 million. The idea of many is sufficient, or better, I'd rather say, the idea of much of one. Much of one. Do you dig? Jen went on. And these many are essentially whole. That is the message, the point. Anyway, the story goes, we mean the story, before there was even time, Jin began employing the air quotes again. There were two lovers. They were one, single, in their love. They were complete. Jin interrupted themselves as the clearing of the brooding woods opened in front of them all. Here, let me see if I can pull this off. Are y'all still with me? They turned to the boys. Stars. Raising their palms up into the air, Jin continued. The two lovers shared a unity and were one, darkness and light, fire and water, the yielding night and the scorching day. And at once the two parted in order to bring up less than their union, that by the span of time which would be produced therefrom, the meantime, or bridge, that is, their union would be realized once again. Of, by, and finally, and most importantly, through what they had created, what extended from them. By means of what they'd created between them, which is the cosmic rhythm, the original beat, so to speak, created everything you see or is currently creating, would be a little closer to the truth. This is the process. Remember, Jin said, remember everything is technically alive, even the so-called non-living, as there is no death really, just movement, or rhythm. Do you see? What is dead only stopped moving according to your sight. Only what is dead just moved elsewhere from your sight. In this moment, Jin enabled Jesse and Trevin to view the sky in such a way that mesmerized them. The dance the dance of the aurora above, with the colors of contrasting green and pink, gave Jin a canvas with which to form a solid picture from their words as they spoke them. They continued. When your man Paul wrote his letters to his churches, he wasn't kidding when he declared God to be love, as love is the coming together of these original two, to yet be one, rather to rediscover their oneness, having never really parted at all, Jin explained. When your planet was suitable, the two who were one in love, therefore, and in fact, descended and ascended here, and decided and divided. They'd make you in their image, that one day they in their great love would be begotten through you, in you, and by you. Jin turned their gaze to the two men, still captured by the dancing colors way above in the sky. You want easy proof? God is literally drawn on your faces and by your soul in what you do and what you fail to do. You are them, alive in their love. You are the crown jewel of creation, and their creation conspired. Every piece, every particle, every star, for you to be here now. So don't you go thinking any different. And when you love, you're very literally closest to God, including yourself, which is your practice of loving somebody else. No church, nor temple, nor book can bring you there to a place you truly already are and always was. Paradise is in your heart, here, even between your two arms and your two eyes. Here. Jin concluded their liturgy, gently pressing the tip of their finger in the center of Trevin's forehead, leaving a glowing impression before vanishing into thin air. Jesse turned to Trevin, from whose eyes streamed water, telling from the glow of the sky reflecting on his face. Trevin looked over too. Jesse rolled his hands around Trevin's fingers and the two met, embracing. After a few seconds, Trevin sniffled as Jesse brought his forehead against his own. I almost gave up, Trevin choked. I almost gave up, Jess. Jesse kept his head against Trevin. I'm so glad you didn't. I've never felt like this before. I don't give a fuck about what anybody says. Don't you ever fucking leave me, okay? Trevin just nodded and they kissed under the merciful light of the summer moon. A gentle rattling noise climbed up between the two, and Jesse looked down, and he saw a pill bottle resting in Trevin's hand as he whispered, Sun Essence. Jesse clasped it from his palm and turned slightly. Before the two was a dark, humble wooden bridge arching over a creek before a sleepy, vacant meadow of fireflies. They made a double take, and then finally Jesse tossed the bottle he took from Trevin's hand into the water. Chapter 15. Hosanna in the highest. A man standing on the stage rang out to a jubilant crowd. Cheers poured back liberally. Why don't we have another round, huh? Hold on. Yeah, why don't we have another round, huh? Let those who feel they've accepted the Lord, this next one, bring yourselves and your friends to the altar, said the voice. The exacerbated band members had to continually be rotated out as the music began to climb dizzily into the night. Right below the stage, long tables were presented, attended by masked staff, offering wafers and drinks of communion and circular prayers, while the remaining hundreds fluctuated in worshipful dance. Lights tore through the space of the arena, which was bulging with manufactured fog, being spat out by ventilation on the ceiling, and from the columns made to resemble trees. There, in the beating heart of the wreck, Jesse and Trevin pushed their way into the bustle from some double doors leading outside into the courtyard. A particularly hopping beat began to bumping from the loudspeakers. The tumult of cheering began becoming clearly concentrated in one direction. Dozens of bodies slid aside to open up to a single person dominating the dance floor ahead, spinning and gesturing seamlessly against the notes of the unusually irreverent song. Jazz, Trevin shouted above the clamor. Is that Jerry? Jerry had long since disposed of their cap and was breaking down the dubstep before everyone, with various onlookers beginning to join in. Jerry's shirt flew open between their suspenders as they lost themselves in the rhythm. All of a sudden, a lone guy, standing in a darkened corner of the arena, holding a cup, became the unfortunate focus of Jerry's animation as the song clobbered on. Jerry spun themselves to the guy minding his own business, who stood stiff as a board, arms drawn down his polo shirt and his free hand stuffed in his high slacks. Jerry waited for the right moment, the drop of the song, to swing their arms in the rando's direction, who took it away and began gesticulating furiously, flinging his cup away to the admiring gasps and applause of the dozens around him. Guys, sweat was coming down like a waterfall from Jerry's forehead as he rejoined his friends. Sorry, I got lost in the oxygen of this sick beat. Where have y'all been? Trevin and Jesse shared glances with perked lips. Their stare was abruptly shattered, though, by a thunderous stomping heading their way, in spite of the general commotion. Spilling out from the drifting assembly of folks, bulleted Troy, crashing into the scene like a comet. Fuck, am I glad to see you guys. Troy grabbed Jesse, flinging his arm around him. What? What's going on? What happened? What's up with your face? Why are you smiling? Trevin inserted. There's some crazy shit going down around here, man. Trevin shouted into his friend's ear, trembling to collect himself. Hosanna in the highest, blasted from the loudspeakers yet again. A man approached the center stage to yet more showers of cheering and hailing. I'd hate to interrupt our wonderful celebration, folks. We're going to take a moment to hear from our very own teacher and seer. Please join me in welcoming back Pastor Lee. The rumble from inside the rec dance floor was debilitating. The announcement seemed rushed, though. Pastor Lee quickly approached the microphone. Oddly, not adorned in his typical business suit, he flashed a neutral button-up and some jeans, and of course a brilliant smile, appearing to consume the very applause of the congregation itself like a dehydrated dog does a water dish. Folks, and children of the Most High God, he proclaimed to the masses below, raising his arms to reveal sweat stains. I just wanted to come to you tonight humbly and address some recent developments and thank our sponsors who make all of this wonderful work of the Lord possible. Tonight is a special night. It's not only the night of the birth of our church, it's a night of healing, he continued to the tumbling chatter. Many of us have suffered, but I want you all to know and wanted to tell you personally the power of our God. Amen. Resounding amens. We're living in challenging times, and I have to be level with you all for a moment. Pastor Lee then bit his lip. The crowd visibly leaned in. As you know, our Lord is maker of heaven and earth, and where any plan is made, none shall prosper against his power. But there are in this world powers which, if I may say, stand against the Lord and his people. Been that way, well, pretty much since time immemorial. Many of you have already felt the particular pain associated with this latest news of the so-called pandemic, this pestilence, which has shaken this nation and has challenged us to go to the very core of our faith and the limits of our freedom. Pastor Lee unfurled his brows, and the crowd began simmering. You may have noticed even now our staff and coordinators have taken on great pains to accommodate this plan with the emergence of mask wearing. But to to the ends of the plans of the enemies of the gospel, seen and unseen alike. The pastor began uncharacteristically raising his voice sternly. Sweat whipped around as he tore his neck back and forth, and reddened veins popped through the gates of his collar. There be no good enough for them, these powers and principalities, except to seek our church's failure of this kingdom upon the earth, which you all and others have labored greatly day and night to help raise up. And that is why I am coming to you, before you, with this plea. Stand with your church. Pledge tonight to stand with God's kingdom now and forevermore in all the universes and realms. Wherever the enemy is to be found, that whore of Babylon, may we, as the chosen children of the eternal God, give ourselves even to the ferocity of fire and sacrifice against those forces which would seek to shut us down. The major part of the crowd roared, and others left wondering and concerned and a little confused. Who the fuck are you? No. Troy suddenly jerked around, his eyes nearly popping out of his face at the sight of Jerry standing there with the other two. Troy drove headlong toward the stage as people moved themselves away. Pastor Lee slowly lowered his microphone and stood, observing Troy headed towards him. Some in the crowd gasped, while others fell over the one-man stampede, spinning erratically ahead, striking people inadvertently and sending cups flying about. Troy began convulsing violently and blasting unintelligible language from his mouth. His eyes bulged wide and his face muscles crawled open, splitting every direction. Stand back, everyone, Pastor Lee ordered into the microphone before descending to the floor and diving toward the incoming mass that was Troy. The pit of the people began backing away, drawing out a void on the wreck's floor. Some security guards, armed, sprung along to try to follow Lee, but the pastor swiftly batted them away with his gestures. As Troy rolled ahead to meet him head-on, Pastor Lee suddenly launched up his hand and smacked Troy across the forehead, sending him to the floor. "Be healed," he shouted. Troy ceased moving and unfolded calmly onto the floor, out like a light. After a few moments, from the shocked crowd around, some had managed to grapple Troy to his feet, and his eyes opened. "Praise to the highest," Pastor Lee shouted. The pastor lifted Troy's arm like a boxing champion, and the crowd erupted again in praise.